Hey, what's up? It's me, Doc. Of course, I'm one of the sample kings. Well, check it out. We already did our MPC500 DVD Part 1. Well, now we're going to do Part 2. But you know what? AKAI came out with a new version. Version 1.1. The newest version for our MPC500. We're going to show you how to load it up, take the bin file, dump it on our MPC, and load up any update that comes in for your MPC500. It's simple, easy to do, just watch it. Then we're going to sample some sounds in, edit some samples, take some samples from Pro Tools on our computer so we can use our MPC500 with our computer system. We're using a Mac here, but it also works with your Windows-based system. So look, don't worry about it. We're going to get busy. We're going to show you some more great stuff you can do with our new MPC500. Check it out. Okay, here we are on our AKAI website, akaipro.com. First we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we want to actually check out the support. Move our cursor to support right here. And we're going to go to our main support main. Click here. And next we're going to look for operating system update. I'm going to go right here. Update. And next we'll see, it appears right here. And that's our new update. Now here it says 1.1. The first thing is how to update. I'll show you right now. We have our version. We get our version off of there. And we also have the release notes. So I have to get both of them actually. You click here and load that version onto your computer as a zip file. I'll press OK. It'll load it up. Done. Very quick. I'll go ahead and get my release notes just to find out what they improved on the system. I'll go here, click OK, and that's done. And now we've got our release notes for the new 1.11 release. And we're also going to check out the new version. Let's check that out. Now once I'm set, I've got this little file set up right here. And I've got my file, which is my bin file. I'm going to take this bin file and we're going to put it into my MPC. But first we're going to hook up a USB cable. Got my USB cable plugged right in there. Here's my USB cable. That's good. The other one I'll plug into my computer. So here's my computer. I've got one more plug to plug in here. Another USB cable, and it goes right there. Let's put this in here. Make sure I got it in properly. And there it is. Got it plugged right in there. And now before I can get busy, I'll take a compact flash card. I got it inserted here into my MPC. I need the compact flash card in order to secure the data. There we go. Make sure it's in. Then probably notice a little button sticks out, so my card is in. And now I'm ready to turn my MPC500 on. Okay, now I'm going to turn my MPC on. Got my compact flash card in there. You can see right here we're turning it on, getting ready to get started. It's got automatically loaded up the files that are already on our MPC. And now I'm going to go to our computer and we should be able to see our MPC on the computer. Okay, now first we need to press the mode button. Press our mode button first. And then we're going to press our pad number 2 right there for load. So you can see right there, that's our load pad. Alright? Now I'm going to turn my data wheel. It says USB, now it says connected. See that? USB connected. That means our cable's in and it's recognized by the computer. But my MPC is recognized. We recognize this file right here. That's my drum file. Now once you recognize the file, I'll take the file here, the bin file, and put it here in my MPC file. It's copying it right now. And it's on there. See that? It's pretty quick. Next, I'm going to get ready to throw this out. So I'll press that one there. I'll eject it. See, it's gone now. So now I'm just going to unplug my cable here. The USB cable's unplugged right now. See that? make sure that you have ejected that file off your computer top before you go on. Now it says not connected. See? We're good to go. Now the compact flash card is still in the machine. At this point, I want to cut the machine off. And now we're off. Okay, now I want to launch this. I'm going to launch the new operating system and load it onto my MPC500. I'll turn it on, and I'll hold down my shift button while we're turning it on. And now it'll be searching for the OS system. Once it finds it, this message will come up. It says here, new OS 1.11, record OK, or stop. Now in this case, I'll press the record button. And now as I press the record button, it now reads OK. That's loading in the new operating system. Okay, now once we get to the end right here, you're going to notice that the MPC is going to restart automatically. Now we're here at 855 to go to, and my MPC is finishing running the update. So it's completed now. See that? That's really cool. And now it's going to restart. It's loading back up the files. It's restarted. The thing to do here now, though, is we must turn it off. So I'm going to turn my MPC off. It'll wait about 30 seconds or so. Okay, now we've done that. We've updated our MPC 500. Next thing I want to do is I want to actually get it to initialize the new operating system, which is the 1.11. In order to do this, I've got to hold down the erase button when powering up this time. Okay? So now I'm going to, let's see, power it up and hold down my erase button right there. So now we got an MPC startup going on here. And we're ready to go. Now in case you want to check, make sure you got the right operating system on your MPC, what you can do is you can press your mode button. Once you press the mode button, we're going to press the other button right there, which is pad 8. Now pad 8 of course starts off with this thing called master level. We don't want that. Go to the end and see what the version says there. That's the new version, version 1.11. Okay, it's time to sample something, and we're going to show you how sampling works here on MPC 500. First we'll press mode. Next we'll press pad number 4. And here we've got our mode section, which is our record section here. Our mode record. And the mode here signifies either stereo or mono. That means we can go from a mono mode or to a stereo. Two choices we have here in there. Record. It's the first choice. And in this case, I think we're going to use mono. I've got my bass guitar plugged in, just so I can get a little bass line, maybe sample that in. Next, we've got our monitor. Now, this will send the output of this particular sample. So I'll play this bass. Hit the strings, see the strings move? Is my level going up and down right there? And we can see that. And what's happening here, of course, is that we're getting audio. See it die now? Something to die down here? Well, that sound's being sent out through our output. I'll turn this off here, and I'll play it again. Now you could see the levels move, but you don't hear anything. Just hear the bass actually in the room, but we can hear the audio level going out into our mix system. I'll turn it back on now. Now we hear it. Okay. Now, we want to hear the output, of course. Threshold level. This has to do with the amount of audio input into our MPC. Now if I'm at minus 63 here, that means whatever sound comes in, it's going to trigger it to start recording the sample or this audio coming input. if I go to here, let's say the minus 13, the sound's got to be much louder. It's got to pass 13 in order to get to that point up here. In order for it to get to this minus 13, which is probably somewhere around here, it'll start sampling. So it means if it's a loud enough audio signal coming in, the MPC will start sampling. For example, in this case, I can go to 34, we'll say, and we're recording set up, and we're record ready. I could press do it, and it's waiting for input. That means it's waiting for the MPC to hear the sound, but it must be an audio level above that minus 33 we had. I can cancel that by pressing the cancel button and go back down here. We're at 28, so I can turn up even louder. Let's go up to minus 5. Cursor back over here and record in. Now I'll press do it and we're already waiting. I played the bass, but it did not trigger the MPC to start recording because it didn't reach that level. It didn't reach that minus 5 dB in order for it to record. So it's waiting to get a signal loud enough to say, okay, it's loud enough, now I will record that signal. Well, we'll just cancel here at this point, and we'll move the cursor back one more step, and here we can go down to, let's go our lowest, well, we'll say about 50, and the cursor back, and we'll press record, do it, it's waiting, it started recording, see that? And now it's going by minutes and seconds, and it's recording what it just played. Now press cool, and I press do it again, and the sample's been saved here. See that? It's called sample 1, so it defaults to a specific name, and we can assign it to any pad we'd like to assign it to. I can say, okay, I'll assign it to this pad right here. I'll assign to that pad there, which is A10. I can say do it, and that sound will appear there. I'll go back here to my main sequence. And that sound appears there. Now I go back to mode, press record, and I can also check how much free space I have. Now in this case, I have the max amount of memory allowed on the MPC, which is 128 megs. So here we have 23 minutes and 23 seconds. I've already sampled something, so I took about maybe a couple of seconds away. We have a lot of time to sample, which is really great. Okay, now I'm ready to record. Well, first thing I want to do now, make sure I got my level for my bass going on. Cool. Now, I'm going to press do it. It's still waiting for the input, and here we go. Do it. Now see, it named the sample. Now it has a default name, which is sample. Of course, it's sample 02, my second sample. I can also assign this sample to a pad if I like to. But first I want to play it back. So, my play button's blinking. That means the sample's ready to be heard. I'll press the play button. And I hear my output. Turn up a little bit more here, we can hear it a little better. So I think I'll keep that. I'll assign to a pad. Put that pad right there. I'll press do it. And now I'm ready to play it back by hitting a pad rather than hitting my play button again. I can go right to here. I'll press sequence and next. See, change pitch? Because the pitch is different on that one little pad. I'll press full level. And now we have a sample we can use on our MPC 500. Okay, now let's chop the sample up. We're going to go to mode, we'll press pad number 5, we'll trim. As you can see, it says trim start. Trim ST means trim start. You hear our sample going by right there. That's kind of cool. Turn up a little bit. Keep hitting this pad though. We're not getting anything we like at all there. Can't stand that. That's really bad. So what I want to do right now is sort of like, let me adjust this thing. I want to get the beginning right on. So move my cursor down. Turn my wheel. See this wheel? Wow. I can move it over there. Let's see. So we'll go for one more. See, wow, we're too far away now. See that? So let's move down to here. Bad. Now I'll press this pad here, pad 10. Now in the upper left hand corner it says loop play loop. So my beginning is good, I think. Let's go to the ending. Let's check that out first. Move the cursor back here, and now the end. So here at the end, I want to bring my ending faster. So here, I'm going to go here and see if I can cut the end off some kind of way, like. A little space now, less space than before. Now we're getting closer. Let's try it now. Sort of about almost looped with the whole thing. See that? The whole idea is to get the beginning and the end. The whole idea is to get that very beginning and the right ending for it. I'm going to back a little bit more. All right, that's not too bad right there. So I've got a beginning and an end I like. Well, my next step here in the trim section is what? We've got our loop start. Now see, loop start already went there. So that means when I start my loop, the loop is going to start from the beginning of my sample. I can have loop on or off. If I turn it on, it'll loop. If I turn this off, I hit this pad right here. It cuts off. Now what this allows us to do, it allows us to say, hey look, we want to use the loop function. So now it's saying, okay, great. We got the beginning and the end of our sample. You want to loop it? Press any pad. Of course, here in our trim section, we're pressing pad 8, and the loop will activate, of course. Next. Now this loop, we got our, this is called our start link on. That means whenever this is on here, this function is on, to make it easier for us to loop, we can actually loop anything. We'll say if it's off here, for example, and we go back here to loop start, it wouldn't be there. But since it's linked, loop start now is set to, as you can see already, it's already set to 1200. Now if that wasn't on, the link wasn't on, I'd have to say, okay, put the numbers in for the beginning of my sample right here in loop start, and it would start from there, and then it would go to the end of whatever I pick for the end, and it would always go back to start from the start point. Now, we can tune the sample, of course. We can take a sample and tune it around after we did it before. We can tune it, let's say, tune it down. We can take any sample and do that with, whether it's a drum loop, a bass line, whatever it is. We can always tune something up to get the right pitch to fit that particular song you want to use it in. And of course, next we can name it. We can name that sample, we can rename it. We can name it something else again. And we also have our edit. Now we have our sample selected now. And here we can actually discard the entire sample. Not the entire sample, discard the stuff we don't want. Let's say I like that loop, and I want to get rid of the beginning and the end. I can press do it, and it will do that. And this gives me the sample size I have right now. Or I can extract. Now in my case, I don't want to discard it. I want to make sure I've got the right size. So this will just take it and pull it out and make a new copy of that new one, extract it out. I can normalize it. If the sample's too low, normalizing will help it get, if it's too low, it'll help it get louder. If it's real low and soft, well, the sample will be louder. So normalizing will take a very quiet sample and get it to the maximum peak that it can, which will help you out in some cases, but you should always sample at maximum level. Okay, now I'm in select here. Now I got select set up here. I may want to go, let's see, select edit. And let's see, I think I'm going to do right now, I think I'm going to name this thing. I want to go here to name. And we could change the name. I'll change my name to what here? I don't know what to change the name to. Let's see. And here. Let's go to the end here and get rid of this other stuff. I don't want this stuff here. Let's go back to here and change the name a little bit. Yeah, let's call it breakbeat. Get rid of this stuff in the front. And get rid of this here. No need for all this junk. Let's call it breakbeat. That's a new name. Press do it, and that's my new name. Great. That's all I want to have. Fantastic. Got a new name now. I'm feeling it. Okay. The next thing I can do, I can select it. Now I've got this loop. Cool, it looping too, baby. Now, we got select, that selects our sound. And we got discard. I can get rid of in the front, in the beginning, keep what I have, and forget that little bit in the beginning, the stuff I didn't want to have anyway. But you know what I want to do? I want to, of course, I want to maybe just extract it out, huh? Nah. I want to make a copy of it first. I always make a copy first. It's important to do. Make a copy. It called it beat 2. Sure, cool. Now I'll assign it to a pad. I'll assign it to this pad right here. A12. That sounds good. Press do it. Got it. Now we got a beat 2. Now see, now we're editing beat 2. No longer the first one that said breakbeat. Now it says breakbeat 2. Good. I want to play around with this one here before I do anything with the other one. Now, I'll go back to my select. Edit select, and here I can discard the beginning and the end. Let's press do it. And now my beginning is the right beginning. And the end, numbers I chose. Good. And the loop still works. Great. Now, I want to maybe go to, let's see here. Let's go back over loop start to 0. That's good enough for me. We can have loop on. It's no problem with that. Tuning is good. Back to edit select. We discard. Now, I may want to extract something. No, not yet. Let's try something else. Let's try to do a reverse. Let's press do it. So reversed our sample. That's pretty quick, right? Well, I want the reverse. Let's try something else. Let's go back to select, and let's go back to reverse, and let's re-reverse it back to where it was before. Turn it around 360 again. Pretty cool. Great feature. Now let's go back down to trim, otherwise we would change the sample. See here? I don't want to change the sample. I just want to change the editing functions here. Here we go. And now we're going to go, we did reversed. We can normalize. It's already loud enough to me. I can extract something from the sample. Let's say I can take a piece out if I want, or take a piece in or out and extract something, which I don't want to do. You can try at home. I can copy. We already did the copy. We can delete the entire sample. Say we don't want to get rid of the sample. That's cool. But right now I don't want to do that. I want to stretch. I want to try to time stretch the sample. Now, in order for me to time stretch it, I want to probably figure out how fast the sample really is. So let's see. I know where it's at in my pads. I'm going to press go back to sequence. I'll press record and play. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now change my tempo around. Too fast. Closer now. See that? A little too fast. We'll try 97 right now. Turn up a little bit more, a little louder. I think it's rushing a little bit. Now it's really off. See that? So we're trying to adjust this loop a little bit. That's off. That's not bad. Let's try 97.1. I like that. That's not too bad right there. So now I've got an idea of how fast this loop is. Well, now I want to go back to my time stretch. We'll go back to mode. We'll press pad number 5. And now we got that number. That's that pad right there. Now you always be aware that sound gets real loud when you go back to your sample trim. The actual audio output of your sample will be maximum level. So always adjust your main volume. Now, we're going to go back to here and sample edit. And we want a time stretch. Now I'll press do it. Now my original tempo that we just figured out was 97.1. That's the original. Right? We'll press do it. It'll make a new sample signed to the pad. Let's cancel that. We don't want to do that. See what happens? The original tempo was one thing, but I can time switch to a different specific tempo. So, I'll go back here to time stretch again. Stretch. We'll press do it. And that's the original is 97, right? But my new tempo, I might want it to be 100 or slower. So let's make my new tempo a little bit faster maybe. The whole idea of time switching is to make sure we keep the same pitch of the sample but increase or lower the speed. Okay, now I'm going to move the cursor back over here. We've got that. We got a preset also. We can preset the effect. Now what happens here, it makes an algorithm, which is a calculation for, let's say, vocals. And we just several different presets here. We can have, if the vocal I'm trying to time stretch, it'll use A, B, or C. It's a male vocal, a low vocal track, just a vocal track by itself. It could be a high frequency rhythm track like cowbells and hi-hats and that kind of stuff. Or we could have a mid-frequency, which could be your mid-level drum sounds. Or a low frequency, like, you know, big bata drums and bass drums, loops or something like that. Or a percussion sound. It's percussion instruments, which we want to time stretch. So these are all pretty much presets that we may want to use for a particular times that you want to use in that function. But right now, what I want to do is I want to get a pretty much simple, a very simple thing I want to use. I want to use something that's maybe like not a low frequency, but a mid, we'll say mid frequency effect for the preset. See that? I can also adjust for any problems I might want to have, which will have to practice at home to go over that to adjust for the time stretching you want to use. In this case, I know what I want. I want it to be 110. My original tempo was 97.1. My new tempo will be 110. My preset is to a mid-frequency rhythm, and no adjustment whatsoever is needed. I'll press do it. It's got my new sample name. Where do I want to put it? It's going to be number 3. I'll put it right here. A9. I'll press do it. It's done. Wow. And that's our time stretching feature. Okay, sometimes I'm working with Pro Tools. I may want to get an audio file and convert it into a WAV file. So I'll go here in Pro Tools and I'll go to import audio and import audio to track. And I'll select from here. Here's our list of breakbeats I've got here. And I think I'll go with this one right here. I'll audition if I want to. If I know what it is, I'll just take it, put it there, and then I'll just go here and I'll just go done. So when I convert the file, see, convert it here, then I'll click done. And now I want to place it in the folder. Yep, put it in that folder for me. And there's the file right there. Now sometimes you get a file that's too low, as you can see right there. I don't like that file being that low. That's kind of bad. So what I'm going to do right here is select that file, and I'm going to go to Audio Suite here, and I'm going to like normalize this file. And I'll press yes, sure, make it 100%. And I've got a full file I want to actually hear back now. I like that file. Now, let's go back to here. I'll say, well, I want to send this file back out. I can go to my regions list, and I can go to export region as a file. It's right there. I can make it a WAV file. Prompt for duplicate here. I'll make it a stereo WAV file. See that? Not multiple models, but stereo. 16-bit. 44.1 is my sample rate. I have a destination for that particular file. I can prompt for each duplicate. And here, let's just export. And it's done. Next, I'll take that same file and put it on my MPC500. Okay, now that I've actually connected my MPC500, my USB cable, other end to my computer, this file comes up here. This is my compact flash file right there. And I'll open it. And we'll see I have a bunch of sounds to put in my Sample Kings collection. Also the bin file I used earlier. Take the bin file and I'll delete that. Send that to the garbage. I want to create a new file, a new folder actually, and call it loops. Press enter. I'll open up loops right here. It's an empty folder. So I go to here. It's empty. I'll open up the folder where I have the WAV files at. Grab the WAV file that I want. Make sure you get the one that's just a regular WAV file, not the left or the right, but the one that's the interleave stereo. That means it's one file. It's both left and right. It's this file right here. Now it's copying it to that folder on my compact flash, which is in my MPC500. Go back out here, and we can see it's there. Perfect. It's right there in my loops. Great. Loops has the file. Well, now I'll close it. Now I'm ready to start. But first I must eject this. So I am going to press the Command E. And that will eject that from my computer, make sure you always eject the compact flash that you see on your computer. Then disconnect the USB cable. You must do that first, always. Okay, I've got my MPC turned on again, and I've got my compact flash card in there, and it has that sample I put in my loop folder. Well, now I want to load that sample from the loop folder, put it in a pad, and sort of chop it up. Well, let's see. We'll press mode. We'll press pad number 2 for load, and now we're in the load section of our MPC mode section. Now, here, as you can see, we can load a program. And as you can see, it says folder on the bottom. So a program from a folder, so one of my folders right here. That's FLD for folder. One of my folders, we can load a program. I can load a sample from that folder. Or select a particular sequence. Or I can load all sequences and songs. It's an all file. Or a project where it would have these songs, the sequences, and the samples I used also. Or I can load the entire folder. And also we can go to auto load. You know, when you get your machine, that you first get it, has these samples on it already, these demo sequences. Well, you can turn them off or on. In this case, we want ours off. But what I want to get right now is a sample. Move my cursor down. I'm going to head to my loop folder. Here we go, loops. Move the cursor to the right. And here's the sample I want to get. But I want to hear it first and make sure it's the right one. Now my play button is lit. So it's blinking back and forth. So what I want to do right now is I want to audition that sound. Always make sure your main volume level, I put mine about maybe 3 o'clock, just to make sure I'm not too loud. The sample I want to load, that's it. Now, my do it button is blinking, so I'll press do it. And now I can assign to a pad that sample. I'm at A bank. I can say, I want to put it right here at A11. I'll press do it. And now it's loading that sample in. And it'll appear here. See, the level's lower here. See that? I can turn the level up here. I can hit it harder. See, it's playing on top of itself again. Because I haven't set the program up on how I want to use that sample. So now I got that sample in. I want to set my program up first, and then I'll probably try to edit my sample. Okay, we've got our sample. We've got it set up here. We know it's right there. Now I can hit it soft or hit it harder. It'll sound a little louder, I think. Yep, a little louder. So we want to get our timing correct. And watch this too. Hit it several times, it repeats. Playing right there on top of itself over and over again. We don't want that. Okay, we need to put this sample into a program. We'll press mode and we'll press pad number 6. Now I'll put the sample in a program. Now, program select. First thing we have here, it's in program 1. Okay? This is the sample assigned. That's the sample right there. Now I can move the cursor down, and now it says A11. I can move it over. Nothing's in A12. Next is B1. And we got A10. So this is the sample I want to work with. Move my cursor back up. We have sample level. Now this is pretty cool. We can actually go down here, move the cursor down, move to L1 here. And we can have several different samples at different varying levels and pans, where it's right all the way, which is 50, or back to mid again, which is exact, or let's say left 50. So we can pan any sample in any range we'd like to. We can also get a level for the sample. I can say, well, I want to make it like, when I hit that pad, I want maximum out of it. See that? I can change the level. This is a pretty cool feature. Okay, now we're going to take a program I already have in here, which I already loaded up a little bit earlier. It's called Hi-Hat City. And I'm going to show you how this feature works here. We're going to go back to our level, sample level. Now here I have this layer, which is L1 layer, set to 96 and up the middle. Sound will go both left and right evenly. I can go to sample, go down one step, and here I can make the layer. Here's layer 2. Now that's layer 1. I can make layer 2 something else. Let's make it a, see that, add something else to that. I can go to layer 3. And I can add another sample. Look at that. I go to layer 4. We'll add one more new sound here. And we have a whole new sound. By hitting one sample, let's move the cursor over here, back up to sample assign, next to sample level. By hitting one sample, I've got several samples. But I also have several layers. I got 4 layers here. So layer 1, that's the maximum, 96. Layer 2 is 69. I can make it louder or lower. I can make layer 3 70 or make it 81. Any level I want to put it to. I can make layer 4, let's see. Let's make layer 4 the max. And we'll hit it. And we can adjust how this sound's going to come out. Now, the unique feature, and the reason why guys actually use this is to give your music its own flavor. For example, you may want to use 2 different hi-hats or 3 different snare drums, or an 808 kick on top of a lighter kick, so the kick sounds like a little stronger in the middle, but a little wider when it actually decays. So this way you can develop your own sound kind of, and actually strengthen or even weaken or make some sound a little bit different. It's a really cool, unique way to give your production that fat sound. Okay, I've got my original sample here. And no need for layers at this point. Now my next step is tuning. I can tune this particular sample, or if I had layers, I can tune each sample in each layer, or each sound in each layer. I can tune them right up. It's kind of cool. So here I'm going to go down here to tuning and level, or layer 1. And I'm going to change the pitch here a little bit. That's a -2. That's as a coarse tuning. I can go to the 2 zeros at the end of that point there. That's no point. I can go down a little bit. Now, we'll go to 50, we'll say. Okay, that's not too bad. You can hear the tuning change a little bit. That's kind of cool. You can even go more drastic here. Now let's change the tuning, the speed of the sample, so it becomes slower, a little more morphed sort of like. So you can change the pitch of any sound or sample you like. You can use a numeric pad. I'll press the numeric button here, press 0, 0, 0, 0, and I'm right there, back from where I started from. Next up, our play mode, 1 shot. Now, that means you hit it once, it plays straight through. Now here, we can go to note on. Now watch this. I take my hand off, and it's played and it's stopped playing. Hold it down, it's up, we're playing, we're not playing it. We can do either way. So we'll hold it down, and take it off, it stops playing it. That's note on. Or we can have 1 shot. You hit it once, plays right through in 1 quick shot, from the beginning to the end of the sample size. It's really cool. And this is in our play mode. The next thing is velocity range. Now this works in terms of velocity, meaning how hard we hit it, how hard we strike that sound. So I play it twice and play it again. It's overlapping in poly mode. I'm going to fix that later on. But right now, play it once. Okay, we saw that. Now watch this. I'm going to go down here to my level 1. I'm going to change the velocity setting on the first half of this velocity function here. And we're going to go to, like, let's say 110. Now hit it hard. Gotta hit it hard to make it work. See that? I can't hit it soft. Now I'll move it back down again. I'll hit it soft. Even softer now. See that? So it depends on how hard I hit the pad, the velocity meaning, and that's how loud the trigger will be. If I hit it very soft, between 7 and 127, it'll play. If I go, let's say, up to here, again to 100, when I play it soft, I gotta hit it harder, harder, harder. Hard enough to trigger the sample to play. That's how we can set our velocity ranges. This is kind of cool when using a drummer, and then when I have a drummer line up to the machine with another sync pad. This way, velocity settings can trigger certain sounds. I could have, let's say, for example, one loop would play at level 1, and level 2 would play a different loop at a different velocity, or different snare drum settings, or different hi-hats. Next we have filtering. Now filtering works is very simple here with our MPC. We can have the total sample sound coming, and I'm taking sample sounds or any sounds of any variety you can have. There are frequencies and samples. It means so many per second. It's 44.1. That means 44,100 samples are taken within that 1 second. Well, here we can actually get rid of certain frequencies. So this is the maximum. If I go further down, I'm going to get rid of a lot of the highs. And if I go real low, I have nothing but bottom. So here we're going to let's go to 50, let's say, for example, and we'll listen to the difference. A little more grimier and grittier. See that? We're losing the high end totally. That's F for frequency. Here we have R for resonance. Now I can turn the resonance off, up a little bit rather. That's a little flavor, different flavor in the background. Now, a lot of guys use these features in order to manipulate the sounds they have, or to give it a little bit more grimier or warmer feel to it, or to even just take it and change it around totally. For example, sometimes when a lot of rappers using stuff, they get a sample. They want to get a bass line from a sample. They don't want the drums. They just want to get the deepest part of the entire sample. And they may go here and turn the resonance off, and you got a sample loop, but you want to be a nice grimy bass sound. And here we barely hear the snare drum. You can hear that bass drum in there. Well, sometimes it could be a bass line, and you just want to hear the bass line and not hear the guitars or the strings or the other higher end frequencies within that particular sample. And so in this section of our MPC, we can change the filtering of any sound that goes into our machine that we set up into our program. Next we have a attack. Now here in attack, this is really unique. It's just kind of cool. It made MPC really great. But look at this new feature. It wasn't on the earlier MPCs. You can see I can press the sample, and it's coming at you all the way as before. Now watch this. I'm going to go from 0, let's say go to 100. It's going to gradually rise to the peak level. Now, we can change our attack. We can change the attack, the way the attack mounts from the beginning of the sample. I go to 20. You can barely hear that one, right? Go 50. That's kind of cool. Really cool feature. Now, it's always fun to use that, just find ways, just find samples. Say I want to have a sample at the beginning of my song, and at the very beginning that rises up to the full level. Could be a chorus, could be a vocal, whatever it is, you know. This could help you do that. Okay, here we've got our decay. This is a unique feature also. Now here I can decay. Before we had this attack where it just keeps rising up, rise, to the full level. Here, it's the opposite, but with another feature. I can go here to, let's say, 70. And it dies to the end real quick. See that? Let's go to start now. Let's try start. Now from the start it dies. See that? It dies from the start. So it can die from the start or the end. Let's go to like, let's try 100. And let's go to end. Let's go to end now. So it actually, from the beginning, it always dies up until the end. But with start, it's different. From the start, it just starts dying from the beginning. It just starts dying all the way out. Now, of course, find your sample when you want to use it. Maybe end of a song, maybe the middle of a break. Put a sample in, a decay, set it in the program, and you're good to go. Let's go back to where it should be 0 right here. And I'll put this to end. It's not really going to. See? Not affecting it because we haven't set any level at all for the decay. Okay, now we're going to go here to our next function. And this is our velocity level. Now when I hit the pad, that's the velocity. Or if I hit it harder, it's a different velocity. Now this will happen if I do not turn on my full level button, whether it's off or on. So, in order, let's say I want to maybe bypass that and get my velocity to a certain level. So that when I hit the pad, I go, watch this, I go all the way down here. No velocity. It's very loud. And if I hit it soft or hit it hard, it's going to be loud because there's no actual velocity level set here. That means between 0 and 100, I can either hit it soft or low, and it will be that's the velocity level I've set it to for that particular pad in the program. See that? Now, if you want to keep it at 100, that's the default setting. This works with several features actually. Here we have filtering. Now I can go back to the filtering section here, and I can put my filter on, let's say here to be a little darker or something. And here are in filters again. See? Now it's playing the full sample. Hit it hard, it plays the full sample. And see there, it sort of changed the filtering. So depending on how hard the velocity is, if it's a soft or a super heavy velocity, or a low nothing velocity, see the filtering came into effect there. See that? So it depends on how hard I hit it. If I hit it hard enough, it triggers the filter because the velocity level triggers the sample to go through that particular filter. Now go back here and turn my filter off. No need for that right now. Should be 100 actually. Yep, and we're going to go up here to the next one. And this is our tuning. Now if I change the tuning, the same thing will happen. I'll hit the pad, soft or loud, and then the velocity will trigger whether the sample goes through the tuning or not through the tuning change. I can go back to tuning, which is here. Cursor right there. Let's make it really drastic. There's a drastic tuning right there. And now I can set my velocity. I'd say make it like 50 or whatever. I hit it hard enough, there's no tuning change. the tuning chain. See the tuning change? So according to what my velocity is, I can change the tuning. And see, it's overlapping, it's playing on top of each other. We call that polyphonic. That means I can keep hitting the pad, it re-triggers the sample over and over again. So let's go back to here, turn the velocity trigger to 0. And we're going to go back now to our tuning. That's varying tuning actually. And here we're going to go back up to here to tuning. We can do the attack also, works the same way. The start also. And now we have the voice overlap. This is our voice overlap. Now here I can have it, you heard it before? And it's overlapping, playing the sample over and over again. That's annoying. Sometimes. You might want to use it, but right now it's bad. Watch this. That's what I want. Play it once, it plays straight through the way it is. That keeps it in that one mono play mode. Now we can also assign samples to a group. Let's say we had, they're all bass sounds, and we want to make them all the same mute group. We may want to mute them all at the same time. Well, for that group, and I press the mute button, and I'm doing a little mix, and I'm doing my little mix with my track mute, I mute the button, it'll mute all those sounds in that group. I can just select the group, put mute on, and assign that group to a particular number. Also have note assign. I can assign that sample to a particular keyboard note. Here it is G2, or G sharp, or A. I can assign it to whatever I want to, and it already has a default setting. As you can see here, until it's assigned, we have an asterisk right here at the end. See that? Next, we have our assign reset do it. So we can go back to the default that is in the software here for our new 1.11 software MPC500. And it'll reset all the parameters back to the default settings. We can also give our program a number. And sometimes using MIDI equipment we can actually assign program numbers to particular programs. Like you can say, for example, on a keyboard module, program 1 could be the bass, program 2 could be the guitar, program 3 could be the keyboards. In this case, we could say program 1 could be Timbaland, program 2 could be Ginger Baker's, program 4 could be another drummer's name, it could be anybody, or it could be those particular samples, or it could be those particular bass line samples, or those loop samples, or those Dr. Dre samples are particular programs. This is program 1, and I can assign this program, I can assign it to be 1, 2, wow, look at that, up to 128 different programs. That works very cool when you have like a particular sound. It could be a keyboard sound, we'll say. It's put on all the pads, and each keyboard sound is in a chromatic scale. That means it's going, you know, step by step, like on a piano. And then I can hit those particular notes. There's a keyboard to play the sounds on my MPC, and it would act like a sound module. We have new program. We can make a new program and name it. We can rename the program also. We can copy this program. We can delete it. Get rid of it. I don't want it. You're out of here. We can purge unused. Now sometimes you're making a song up. You load all these sounds in there and you're saying, well, you know, I don't want all those sounds. I only want the ones I like now. I got the song the way I like it. I'm feeling that song. But you know, I don't want all this stuff. You press purge sounds if you're not using that program. It'll get rid of every sound that's not used in the song you're making up, which will save space. Believe me, some days you'll need it. And that's how our program works. Okay, now, here's what I want to do next. I'm going to show you how to use actually an effect on any particular drum. It's pretty simple. You'll press mode, and you press the effect pad, which is pad number 9. Now I'll pick a I'll play the beat now. Press play start. The beat's playing right there. Okay, good. It's the kick drum there. Add a little reverb to that. I'll go there and put effect 1. It's the effect send. Now here we have the bank, and that's the pad number 3 in that bank. We're going to send an effect to that particular pad. We can have effect set to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to 20. Got that one. Effect set 1. Here I can have effect 1, 1 to 2, and 2. For master, we have the master effect on the entire output. That means the entire machine's output is going to be compressed here, or EQ'd. I can compress it or EQ the entire output of my MPC500. Here I'll go back to effect number 1. I'll turn it from off to on. I have a grunger first, EQ. EQ is very cool. We can go from a high frequency, high gain, to a mid frequency, mid gain, a mid Q, a mid frequency 500 here, mid gain, mid 2Q, a low frequency 60, a low frequency gain. And next, we have a compressor we can add also to the effect 1. We have threshold level. We can set our gain for that level, and we can set the ratio of compression, whether 20 to 1 or 1 to 1. We can use a phase. We can have a sweep of about 60 cycles, a tremolo, auto pan, and reverb. In this case, I'll use a very simple thing as a reverb. A reverb filter also here, filter input. We have the time of the reverb. We have our high frequency damp, the level, the amount of reverb we'll have. And so here I'll leave it at 9. Those settings are okay with me. And now I'll press play. And you can hear a little reverb there now. I can adjust the reverb to the same setting here on the MPC500. I'll go back to level. I'm reducing the amount of reverb. I'll increase it now. So you control the amount of reverb to any drum pad we'd like to. We can also increase, let's go ahead and turn this off, the use of our reverb. We can use a reverb now on the overall output. I can compress that output using a compression effect, any kind of ratio I want to. For example, I'll put the effect on for my compressor. You can hear it's compressing, make a much tighter sound. I'll turn it off here. Louder. You can even EQ. So we can set our EQ settings and our compressor settings for the master output on our MPC500. Okay, now I've got my MPC set up. I've done a track here. I'll press play. Get my level right. Okay, I want to sync this beat up to a song that I made up on my Pro Tools system in my Mac computer. So first thing I want to do is I want to make sure we'll be in sync. Now to do this, we'll press mode. Next, we'll press pad number 7, which is my MIDI sync pad. Now we'll see the first option here is the receive channel. So I can select whatever MIDI channel I want to receive. I can receive all the MIDI channels, or just MIDI channel 1 through 16. In this case, leave it set to all. We have solve through. Now, a MIDI sync that can be solved through as track, off, or on. We have pad to sampler. Essentially, this means that when I hit a pad, it triggers the sound or the sample I've set in the program for that pad. Or a pad can be used to trigger an external keyboard or another musical instrument that has a MIDI connection to the back of it. And here we have sync. Now I want to sync. Now what I can do also, I can make the MPC the master. It can control everything. When I press play on the MPC, it will play start the slave device. It could be a computer system, it could be another sequencer. In this case, I want to make the MPC the slave. That means it's waiting for the sync command from my Pro Tools system on my Mac. Once that's set, I'll press my sequence button. Now I'm ready to play my sequence through the control of my Pro Tools system. Okay, now I've got my Pro Tools set up right here, and I've got my song. Now to make sure we're in sync, we're going to go to MIDI. I'm going to go to MIDI beat clock. And here we can see I've got enable MIDI beat clock 4. And our choices are below that in the dialog box. Here we have the M-Box 2 port 1. So now the MPC is going to be synced using a MIDI beat clock. Receive tracks and receive data through this actual position here. I'll press OK. And now we're starting from the first bar, first beat, that measure. And here we can do, we'll just press play here on the MPC, rather on our Pro Tools system. I'll click play here. And we can hear my beat here on my MPC, plus the music. So now we're in sync using our MPC 500. Just the levels here. I'll turn my beat up somewhat on my MPC. I'll turn my MPC volume down. This is how we can actually sync up and resync or even remix a track using our MPC 500. Okay, now I want to show you what happens. When we're actually in external control, we have control of our MPC using our external sequencer. Now I'll press play on my Pro Tools and you'll see what happens on the screen on my MPC. As you can see right here, it has EXT right after the bank letter. Now EXT stands for external control. That means an external controller is now controlling our MPC sequence. Turn play off. You see EXT is gone, and now we see the BPMs, which is 60.0 for this sequence. That's how it works.